And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your hosts, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, happy summer.
It is nice. And while we're airing this, it's not in the dog days of summer yet, but when this actually shows up on your podcast feed, on most major podcast platforms, it will be in August, and the summer will be at its hottest point for most people. For us, it won't be at its hottest point because that's our monsoon season.
Yeah, that's our monsoon season. That's right. And here in the desert, we know summer more than almost anybody else because our summer is roughly from March through October, give or take. That's finally when it starts cooling off. But we decided, what better way to celebrate, summertime?
Yeah.
You came up with this theme this week.
Yeah, the reason it just felt weird. I know you like to do like these weird ones that are out of left field.
I love it.
And I've always heard the feeling like, what gives you that summer feel? And for me, I was thinking of stuff like growing up, going to baseball games, playing baseball, because I played baseball as a kid, and all through high school. What else is, camping and stuff like that. And I'm like, nowadays we're adults and we don't want to go outside. Right. So what do we do to give us that summer feel? Right.
So we like to give options where it's like, if you're trapped inside, if you're not able to do something that you want to do, but you have board games, what games can you do it? And now, most people say, I'm just saving these games for a rainy day. Well, we're saving our games for 110 degree weather is what we're doing.
And it's monsoon season, so for our rainy days.
It is rainy days, so we're going to give you guys some suggestions for different board games that are just great, give you that summertime feel in different ways, and some of them I'm sure won't relate to other people. Like you said, you like sports. I don't.
Yeah.
So if you're not a sports fan, then, maybe something on my list might resonate with you. Or if you are a sports fan, if you've already been into those summer sports, then yours should knock it out of the park.
No, well, the only issue is I haven't really found a board game. I have one game it's on my shelf of shame that I get played, Bottom of the Ninth. Mm-hmm. Nothing else I've ever played really gives that really good feel of sports. Like, the only other one I've really played that I kind of enjoyed is Solo Ball. It's a game from the 1960s.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just dice chucking and stats, which that's what baseball is.
Let's be real.
Yeah, Moneyball and stuff like that. It's all about statistics.
Fantasy Football League is just D&D, really.
It's D&D for jocks in a sense. Yeah. But yeah, I wanted to have a sports one on here. Yeah. I was trying my darndest, but I just couldn't come up with one that gave me the one that made my short list, but didn't get on my list because I've never played it. But it fits for our summer because it's our monsoon season since we live in the desert. Yep. Was petrichor. That is the smell of rain when it's coming into existence and stuff like that. What you're smelling when rain's about to come, it smells like rain. It's called petrichor.
That's what that's called.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. And we even have some native plants that naturally smell like rain.
Yeah.
Just when they're sprouting, which is really interesting. I remember that from a nature hike not too long ago.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this. I always enjoy it. These kind of offbeats.
Yeah.
I will say this. For me, coming up with this idea was one of the most difficult ones for me.
And this was one of the more difficult for me as well. At first I was like, there's one that's a shoo-in, and I'm almost certain it's on your list too. But not to give spoilers or anything, but I do think it is. But then the top 3 were just yes, those are the obvious ones, right? And then the other 5 for me, I had to really kind of scavenge. It was more specific parts of summer that are reminiscent to me and my past. And I was like, okay, I can relate this to my kind of summer. It doesn't give me so much a summertime feel. It's just giving me a feel of something I do during summer.
That's kind of what I did. There's some that gives me a summertime feel or stuff that I look forward to during summer.
Yeah.
And I'll get into it when I get to those picks because a lot of stuff I did, it was because of summer. I was off from school. Yep. I was able to go do more stuff, especially as I got older and I was able to start driving, or I had adult money. I could do more stuff. Now, my adult money is spent on this.
Yep. It could be worse. And, and here's the funny part. After thinking about it, I was looking through my game collections, and of course I see everything that has nothing to do with summer. Like Inuit.
Yeah, exactly.
And once it's like, I was like, maybe Stone Age, because they're out in the, I was like, wait, no, I have the winter edition.
Yeah.
Hold on, It's like, that's very much not summer. And there was one that I was going to put on here, and I'm going to say it right now, because it's not technically an honorable mention. I thought about lanterns at first because it's a very festive thing, but then it literally says the Harvest Festival on it. I was like, wait a minute, that's a good point. That's not summer, is it?
Yeah.
Although they probably have lantern festivals during summer. But that's not. That game was not based off.
Yeah,
the summer
no, they have a bunch of festivals dependent upon the seasons. I don't know about lantern. I know Japan, their summer festival deals with fireworks, kind of like what ours does.
Sure.
So, maybe lanterns for China? I'm not...
Maybe. It could be, right? And like I said, I was like, I disqualified it for that reason alone.
Because it said Harvest?
Because it said Harvest Festival on it. But we'll get into that and explain our reasonings here in a bit. And but before we do that, Daniel, what have you been playing?
All right, so I've been playing the 4 games on here. I've only played one of them with you. And this is going to be the first one I talk about.
Okay.
Last week when we were talking about board games that we've been playing, we talked about the bigger one that we ended up playing. For the life of me, I can't escape it. It was a Marvel Dagger. It was
Marvel Dagger.
Yeah, we were playing Marvel Dagger. It was supposed to be a 2-player game night. You were
You keep saying it in a way it's like I done slipped my way into this.
No, because we weren't assuming you were going to be there.
Wrong.
Yeah,
you're not wrong.
We weren't assuming you were going to be there, so we're like, okay, this is the plan. And then you're like, hey, I could show up after all. All right, I know you don't like Eldritch Horror, but we're playing this game.
Yep. I know you guys were probably a little bit cautious, when you were teaching it, but no, I genuinely had a good time playing that. That was a good game.
Well, since that took most of the game night, I had another game that myself, Dammit Dom, and you all saw, and me and Dammit Dom are big Red Raven games, Ryan Lockett stuff. We love the artwork and stuff like that. And we saw this at the Gamma Expo.
Yes.
And we were like, wait, what is this? Because we didn't hear any announcement for it. There was no news on it. They're like, oh yeah, we're showing this off. It's supposed to come out in the summer. Excuse me? Where did this come from? I didn't hear anything about it. I'm on the newsletter. What's going on here? So I had some games that were still on Game Nerds that I needed to get released to ship to me. And I was like, I only need $10. This is a $15 game. So I ended up buying it. I'm like, you know what? Both me and Dan and Don want to play this. We tried it out. It's called Isle of Night. It's a small little card game from Red Raven. I can't remember who the designer is. I don't remember where I put my copy of it either, so I can't really look that up. But it's a small card game, which has a bit of a set collection aspect of it. So what you're going to do on your turn is you're going to take 3 cards off the top of the deck, and you're going to put them in a pile of shared items. And then you're going to take one grouping of items, whether it's a sword or spears or dragons, which has a twist to it, as well as serpents. I think there's treasure maps and stuff like that. And you're going to take a grouping of them, except for lanterns. You can only take one. And because the lanterns are the in-game triggers, 6 of them in the game, you take your grouping, and then you're trying, some of them will have special abilities, but you're trying to get a certain amount of sets for them because the way it's built is what they're going to score. Some of the cards give you a special ability where you can switch the scoring pattern. So in our game, dragons were at the highest level. So they were going to give you 5 points for every set of 3, or every pair of dragons, I believe was what it was.
Yep.
And then you
can
adjust
dragons, every pair of the
and then some were sets.
Yeah, some were sets of 3 or 4 of each.
And so you get some cards that can give you points at the end of the game, but you also use it for its ability, which can either lock things in place or transition them to either make them score higher or have them score lower. And you keep going until everything is done. It's interesting. I love the little set collection aspect. I didn't expect a card game to give you that set collection feel, especially how small it is. It's just a deck of cards, really, and the only other cards in that deck is just how you set up the scoring board. depending on what island you are. So there's modularity there based on the islands you're playing, Island A, Island B, and stuff like that. And basically it sets up the scoring. So the topmost is always going to be like 5 points per pair, and then it's 4 for the second level, 3 for the third level, 2 and 1 as you're going. Honestly, fantastic art. And it's a fun little game for $15, honestly. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. And I've always been a sucker for small card games with a lot of variability to it, or just this way it's not the same game you're playing all the time, you know what I mean? And so I love the aspect that you can change out what's going to happen based on the scoring or which island you're playing, or... Because some of the scoring cards is like, you don't need a set of these, you need a grouping of these. So you need a beetle, firefly. I don't think that's in there, but it's like beetle, firefly, and butterfly. You need one of each for that to be considered a set. I love that variability. Mm-hmm. And it's a small card game. It's like 180 cards. You just flip the deck, and then you just go through it until someone gets the 6 lanterns and ends the game. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good for a $15 game.
Yeah. I definitely, before I elaborate, I want to preface, I really did enjoy it a lot. I thought it was a really fun game. When you first brought it out and started teaching it, I was like, oh, well, this just sounds like, like Dead Man's Draw, or like like any other of those, like press your luck.
Yeah.
Like, draw until something happens, and then you either don't or do or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever. I like all those games, so I'll play it anyway. And then it really turned out more to be like the mechanism from Inuit, right? You deal out 3 and then pick one set.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, you have like, you pick your scoring things. Like, it's not engine building, but you pick what you score and you manipulate what you score and you lock what you do or don't want it to do.
Yeah. Or unlock it too. It's like if you want something to manipulate it later, it's like, I'm going to unlock this way I can move it down and move this up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was interesting. Hey, Luminous.
How's it going, Luminous?
Yeah, I would gladly play it again. It was fun.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot. I thought it was interesting for such a small card for $15.
Yeah,
honestly,
that's a very cheap price for that.
Yeah,
honestly, for the amount of cards that's in it.
Yeah, fantastic game.
Cool. All right, the first game I wanted to talk about was a game that we played this last week. It was our friend Dom's pick. Even though I weaseled my way into the previous week, that extended his pick into this week, and this is one game that he chose for us to play. That I was already really tempted to play it, and I'm glad I did because I really enjoyed it. This is Dragon Keepers.
That was a fun game.
Yeah, and it's so neat how it works. Like, because I've seen stuff like where the backs of the cards determine how you can score stuff before, and I've seen collecting sets of those to trade in to do stuff. Like, it almost has like a Jaipur style, right?
Yeah, where,
like the pieces that you do get a little bit more expensive, so when you trade it in, that's when you can get those. But then all of the scoring mechanisms has like some cool little twist to it. Like,
and the fact that you can manipulate it too.
Yeah. And you can manipulate it, right? You can play cards face up. There was a lot of just cool things that it did. Like, sometimes it would give you a gem, which would let you draw a 4th card. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it'll let you get 2 of the scoring amulet tokens. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it would let you get that plus an egg or a shield or something, and that's like first come, first serve.
And then whoever has the most eggs at the end of the game gets an additional...
Flips them to 16. That's such a smart way to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I am very impressed by that one thing alone. Because there's a lot of games that are like, okay, whoever has the most gets a bonus of
X
they
get
points.
Like 2 extra points or something.
Yeah, right? It's like, no, just put it on the other side of the token. Whoever gets the most flips one.
Yeah, and that's their point. They score all what they already are. Yeah. So they're 4 points each for each egg you get. Whoever has the most flips one, and it becomes 16 points just for that egg.
That one egg, yeah. It's like, that's brilliant. And then, of course, when you get 3 pieces of your amulet, then you're able to take one of the tokens. Obviously, the 3 tokens are worth... There's 3 that are red that are worth like 8 or 7, maybe even 9 points, something like that. And then the rest are like 3 or 4 points by completing an amulet. I liked everything about this game. I like the art. It's super adorable, little fuzzy dragons that were adorable. It
was a good game.
The mechanisms were really smart. They were unique enough. It was just, I liked it.
It was by far the game of the night for me because we played 3 games.
Yeah, Mobile Markets, that one, and
Dragon Farkle.
Dragon Farkle, yeah.
So Dragon Keepers was my game of the night. I thought it was a fantastic game.
Yeah.
I liked what it did. And you and me played a 2-player game before that game night started.
Right.
We played Longhorn that night, too.
Longhorn, yeah.
I like Longhorn, but I think Dragon Keeper really just shined.
I agree. Yeah, Dragon Keeper shined. I was thinking, like, the reason I was excited to play Longhorn is because I was hoping that it would be kind of like another, like, unique take on, like, Naya.
Yeah,
I love Naya.
Naya is a fantastic
That came out around the same time.
No, I liked Longhorn a lot. I liked what it did. And the fact that I beat you on it, too.
You not only beat me, you destroyed me in that game. It wasn't even
And it's Bruno
close.
Cathala, and I thought it was a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Bruno Cathala and Vinci Dutrait art. I think it was great. It's just, it's a 2-player game that's not going to get played here.
Right. So therefore,
I can't have it.
Right.
That kind of thing. Now,
but even if you came over to my house and we were playing 2-player games, I don't think that would be one of your first picks. It might.
No, I would pick that one. I would play that one again. I really did enjoy that one.
Okay.
Yeah. My favorite 2-player game as of right now is Star Wars deck building game. I think that one's a fantastic game.
Does your wife like that game?
She hasn't played it. I tried to get her to play it a couple times. I've showed it to my friend Angel, and he enjoys it. So when we were just waiting to do something,
I need to play my copy more often. It's really good.
But before we go back on to what we need to do, I wanted to get your thoughts on mobile markets, because I own Smartphone Inc.
Right.
I want to play the physical board game, and I think that's going to be one of my picks, because it's my pick this week.
Okay.
Honestly, I've heard it's really good at 5 people, Smartphone Inc. I don't know if I would play mobile markets at 5 people.
that caps at 4, no?
I think it plays 5, because we played 4, and there was still another set of 2 cards.
Okay.
Honestly, I need to play that game again to really feel how, because not anything against Damn It Dom, but there was just a lot going on with that game, and the structure of the game kind of was confusing.
Well, there was a lot of times that the rules referenced parts of the board.
Yeah.
That like parts of the board that wasn't intuitively obvious.
Yes.
And it wasn't until like I was just reading the side and I was like, oh, wait a minute, it says the price and it has the same symbology as the price on the cards.
Yeah.
Or the boards. I was like, oh, okay, that's what that means. And then this must be the market that we're doing. But then this little tiny slash, like, we didn't realize that till later. And again, like, it wasn't anything about his teacher or anything like that.
It's just the rule book wasn't well written.
The rule book wasn't well written from what we could tell.
Especially from Arcane Wonders.
Yeah. I didn't do that. It was frustrating on a couple different ways for me. But with that aside, from everything I heard about, Smartphone Inc. is the superior game.
Okay.
I mean, I'm willing to play it. I'm looking forward to playing it because I really like that idea of a theme.
Yeah.
Setting up cell phone networks is a fascinating theme. Even mobile markets, I was excited to. But either way.
Yeah. So.
But to elaborate more, like I texted you later on.
Yeah.
And I effectively said, I would give that a 0 out of 5. For right
now, yeah.
For right now, and my reasoning for it, and again, it could improve, but from what I saw, it wasn't easy to learn. So that's flat out.
Yeah. There is meaningful choice once you figure out what you're doing.
I don't think there was enough, and the reason why I think that is that you are so beholden to, like, out of our 4-player game. If you are last, you really did get hosed. Like that, it's hands down. Like no matter if you have the cards or not, you pretty much can't get cards at that turn. Yeah. And there was a full turn where I got absolutely 0 points because I just couldn't. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't because of something I did. It was because I couldn't feasibly anticipate how the other 3 players were going to do it. So that is out of your control.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're privy to that information and you plan to do it. It's not like you responded to something I did that caused it. It was just you 3 went higher than I did. You got first pick, and I was just trying to get some more profit in here, but that's, it is what it is. But then, I don't think Meaningful Choice gets it for that. Yeah. It doesn't have replay value because we saw pretty much everything. More or less.
Yeah, all the characters are the same.
Yeah, all the characters are the same. I mean, there's different cards, but again, I already know what it's about. The art, I didn't particularly like it. I get what they were going for. It's like an iPhone aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like I'm glad that they picked that thing. But when you have when your player board is literally the side of your phone, like that's all you see on your board, and it's like but then, like yeah, it kind of looked like a table from an Apple store, sure. But then there's not gray text on the wall of an Apple store, so like, figure out a way to make that into a screen or something, right? You know, liven it up. I didn't like the art, and then finally the game immersion. Those two tablets, while I thought that was an interesting action selection, made no sense thematically.
Actually, it's the same action selection in Smartphone Inc. Except for that it's 2 whole tablets.
Okay.
And so whatever's face up is your resources.
Which again, like, I like it, but it doesn't... And I feel like Smartphone Inc., because I know you're building the networks, too. Yeah. That's why I feel like the immersion will be there. But this, it's like, hey, you're setting a price thing by arbitrarily putting these 2 tiles together.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this? What is this move? Like, what does this represent in building cell phones? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. And so at the end of it, I was like, you know what, it didn't hit any points for me.
Yeah, no.
Which is a shame because I feel like it could have.
Honestly, I think for me, it would get meaningful choice.
Okay.
But as of right now, that's the only thing I can give it. And right. I just don't know. I need to play it again. I think a smoother play of it could change things.
I would be wary to do a review of it already. Yeah. But initial impressions was pretty poor.
Yeah, it was quite poor for me as well.
But that doesn't mean I don't want to try smartphoning. I do.
I do too. Smartphoning. It just makes me worried because this is supposed to be the more streamlined version of smartphoning from what I heard.
But no, not necessarily. I mean, because you're doing a very different thing. It's just a smaller
you're doing more on the board.
Like, take Terraforming Mars and the DICE version. I haven't played the DICE version, but again, like, yeah, you're still terraforming Mars, right? It's a streamlined DICE version of... But then it doesn't mean it's good, right?
True.
Just because it takes from a good game and streamlines it, it doesn't mean it does it successfully. So, and from everything I've heard of Smartphone Inc., I think it's going to be fun.
Okay. So, well, with that being said, let's get back into what we've been playing.
That was a tangent.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because it's still fresh on my mind. So I was like,
we love you, Dom. I'm sorry. I know you don't even listen to the podcast. And again, the other 2 games,
fantastic.
Good stuff. And
Dragon Farkle was actually more fun than I was expecting it to be.
It's so dumb.
Silly.
Farkle is just a silly, silly game, but is really fun.
And then you add combat on that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so dumb.
All right, so moving on to my next game that I played. This was part of my Saturday game group that I do.
Okay.
We recently talked about it when we talked about our games that did it better aspect. I'm like, you know what? I really want to get this to the table again. Oh, okay. We were doing like nature-themed games and stuff like that, so I got this one to the table, and this is Meadow.
Oh, okay.
It's a fun little nature game. It has great art. Fantastic card play. I love the card play in this game where you're basically building an engine off of stuff that you've already played out and what you're getting. So you're just like, okay, how do I do this? How do I get this? And you're trying to build your tableau up and getting your points in that way.
Yeah.
I still don't care much for the second board where, other than the special powers you can get, like you could take 2 cards out of the row, or you're able to just take one specific card that you need to get, or you can play 2 cards out of your hand, stuff like that. I like that part of it, but the whole claiming the extra victory points because I have these matching pairs now, and it just makes it go longer than it needs to do. Now, it was fun. I still think Quadropolis is a better implementation of this mechanism where you're drafting a card based, or a tile on Quadropolis, based on where you put your thing. So if I put my 2 here and go all the way over here to the second one, that's where I'm at. But if I do it at the bottom, I only go up the second column or something like that. And so I like that mechanism, and I think Meadow does it fine. I just think Quadropolis is just a better implementation of it. I'm glad I own it. My wife did enjoy it, but she agrees with you and me when we talk about it, that it's a fun game and it's fine what it does, but it overstays its welcome.
It does.
It took us 2 hours. Mind you, it was 3 new players.
Yeah, still.
But
30 minutes per player. Right?
Yeah, in a sense.
And one who knows it.
And it's just, it felt like it took a little too long. And they were even saying, because it's 8 rounds. You do 4 rounds, and then you wipe the board, and you do an additional 4 rounds. My group was saying that if you just did 5 rounds with a break after the second round and just made it go a little quicker, it would have been a better game. It felt like it overstayed its welcome, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Because you do have a lot of good decision making. You have a lot of good stuff that you have to do in this game. But after you get into the 5th, 6th, 7th round, you're kind of like, I've done all this before. The things that only come in new come into the North deck that has like these very powerful cards that are morely, that's where your predators are, that's where your scoring aspects are going to be, but it still doesn't feel any different than what you were doing with the other half of the cards, the Southern deck and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's fine. I like it. I'm glad I own it. Like I said, it's not going anywhere out of my collection. It's just, it needs to be shortened a little bit. Maybe the expansion does something that makes it shorter or
justifies its length.
Or justify its length. So, but all in all, I like it. It's probably going to be one of those games that I pull out maybe once or twice a year, more other than some games that I pull out almost every game night or something like that, like the little quick card games that we play.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah. Speaking of game that's fine, I had a couple friends over on my game night, which is on Friday, and one of my friends came from the shop and joined us because they actually play tested one of our escape room stuff.
Okay.
And so I was like, hey, why don't you stick around and play games with us? Like, just so you know, we go until about 2 a.m. And they're like, all right, we're aware of that. Let's go. And so we played a whole slew of games, but this one, like, I'd been meaning to get it back to the table because it's just a ridiculously silly, fun game. And it's probably my favorite one from this designer. And he's known for his silly, like, ridiculous idea, like, absurd card games. And this is Paul Peterson, and I played this game, Guillotine. And this is an old game from, like, the late 90s or early 2000s, something like that. It's, like, around when Munchkin came out, Guillotine came out. Basically, the idea is that you're a bunch of executioners chopping off the heads of French royals. Weird theme, right? And all you do on your turn is you may play an action, which would manipulate the line. You have a whole line, and they're worth anywhere from, like, -2 to 5 points. Some score, like, bonuses off of each other, which is pretty cool. Some of them have, like, different kinds of manipulation. Like, if you chop off this head, he's a fast royal, so you got to get the next one, too. Or, like, the clown, if you chop off his head, you give it to somebody else after you're done. It's -2 points. Because who would want to do that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Is it the clown or is it the jester?
Something like that.
I think it's the jester.
Clown. I think it's the clown. I might be wrong, though. Either way, I mean, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It's the flamboyant, absurd, like showman. And then there's the martyr, which is worth -points.
Well, just for the theme, it would be a jester.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But so you have all these ridiculous cards, and you deal out 12 of them at the start of each round. There's 3 rounds. That's it. And then on your turn, you can play a card that potentially manipulates the line or does some shenanigans where you do something or other, or you mess with other players or whatever, right? And there's all these fun situations that it has. Like, one is if Marie Antoinette is in the line, throw her in the front right off the bat. Boom. 5 points, right? Mm-hmm. Another one is, like, if you get the Lord and the Lady, they're worth, like, 2 points on their own, but they're worth 4 points if you have both of them, right? Or bonuses. And, like, some of them are just, like, terrible, ridiculous things, right?
Okay.
And it's a gruesome, like, twisted theme, and it's just pure fun and silly. It's one of those games that you just sit down and you play because you're like, I'm not worried about having a good game. I just want to have a silly game.
Yeah.
And our friend who was there loves, like, more thematic games. Like, doesn't really like dry, dusty Euro games, per se.
What you're known for? Frederica's.
Which I'm known for, I guess. But yeah, I was like, okay, we're going to pull this out. We pulled out a whole bunch of other games, and they had a great time. Guillotine. Wizards of the Coast.
It's actually not a bad game. It's just not one of my favorite ones out there. It's fine for what it does, but... It's
my favorite Paul Peterson game. I mean, Pairs is next after that, and I don't like Smash Up.
Yeah, that's my favorite. I was like, Smash Up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Smash Up, personally, but...
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's just a Smash Up. Smash Up is at its best with 3 players. Sure. In all honesty, it's a smoother process than longer games. Yeah. But speaking of small classic older card games. The next game on my list was part of that game group. We just needed something to cool off from like Meadow and some of the other heavy games that I'm not heavy game, but longer games that I'm going to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I decided I have a copy of it now. Why don't I bust it out? We've played the other version of this one on the cruise, so I'm like, you know what? I haven't showed you guys this one. Let's play this one. And this is 6 Nimmt. Or in America, it's called Take 5. And so I honestly prefer this over 11 Nimmt. Because there's a lot of more decision, and I love the simultaneous play when you flip it, and he's like, no!
Yeah. It's stand-up moments,
yeah.
Right?
It is a fantastic game. 11 Nimmt, what happens is you're just kind of putting cards out, and you're trying to do it in the row, and then sometimes you have to take the row, and so now, because you have to play in order as you're going. This one is, it's simultaneous play, then you flip your card, and then you determine how it goes. So it's like, do I go here? Because there's already 3 cards here, but if 2 people play in here, I'm taking that row. And I love the smart choices of purposely causing yourself... This way, you only take one... You choose which row you got to take. So if there's only 1 card in there, I'm like, I'm going to take this one, and that's now the card in there.
Yep.
Have at it, guys.
Yeah. Now, you can all add your cards. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I just dodged a bullet.
Yeah, exactly. Because I see where that's going, and no, I'm good. What cards I have in my hand, I'll purposely play a low card to take whichever stack I want to. And sometimes I'll take a large stack because they'll just have 1-point cards in them.
Right.
And where one of the stacks has a 5-point card by itself, I'm like, no, I'm going to take this one. It's 4 points, 5 points. So, and it's lowest score win, or lowest score at the end of the game. It's golf rules, in a sense. So you don't want to get the bullheads.
And sometimes you might purposely shoot for a super high number saying, okay, somebody's got to take it before I do.
Yeah.
But then everyone wiggles their way in just perfectly. And you're like, no!
Yeah.
Fine, scoop them up.
And sometimes I'm willing to do that because I have one that has like 6 bullheads on it. I'm like, you know what? Here.
Yeah.
This way, that row is done. I'll take the negative points that I'm going to get off of this. And now I got that 6 card out of my hand, and I don't have to worry about it for now. So yeah, it is a fantastic little small card. It's quick. There's a lot of fun choices in this game. It's pretty good card stock too for the version
Amigo
you get.
Does great stuff. Yeah,
it is a fantastic game, and I'm glad now I own a version of this one. I don't even call it Take 5. That's the American version. I still call it 6 Nimmt because, in essence, it is 6 Nimmt. Roughly translate, you don't want to take the 6th card or play the 6th card or something like that. And so, because if you play the 6th card, you take that row of 5.
Yep.
And so that's why it's called Take 5 in English, because if you play the 6th card, you take 5.
Yep.
So, yeah, but it's a fantastic game. Wolfgang Warsch, if I remember correctly. Wolfgang Kramer, yeah. It's Warsch Kramer. There's a lot of Wolf games in this.
There's a lot of Wolf games, I'll give you that.
But, no, fantastic game. Take
Very
5.
Cool. Next one, speaking of classic games, I taught my daughter how to play backgammon.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like...
That's so random.
And I wanted to. I don't know why. Like, I like backgammon. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I prefer Senate. I prefer Senate. Just because after a certain point, once all the tokens go past each other, there is no more interaction. You just play it out, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, all the tension built up, and then as soon as that last token jumps over, then play it out, right?
Yeah.
But I downloaded an app for it because I kept seeing, like, copies of backgammon around at, like, thrift stores and stuff. And I told my daughter, you know what? Next time we get a chance, I'm teaching you backgammon because it's something that I just really like. And most boards that I find, are the felted boards. They have the really chunky pieces, nice dice cups. It's just good production in a suitcase,
Yeah, yeah.
It's just cool, fun stuff. So I taught her how to play it. Absolutely destroyed her. It wasn't even close. But I got really lucky rolls. She never got a double of anything.
Yeah, sure.
So when you roll
Loaded
a double,
dice.
It was on the app. So, I mean... I don't know.
On your phone.
True.
You're a tech teacher.
True.
You know how to finagle phones.
True. I had downloaded 3 apps before I got one that allows you to play 2 players. That was the weird thing. The other versions would only let you play 1 player online or against AI. It's like, why can't I pass and play? What? Can't I put this in front of me and my kid? Anyway, I taught her how to play it. Super fun game. You've played Senate, right?
Yeah, I played Senate.
Yeah, so you know how if 2 pieces are next to each other, they're safe, right?
Yeah.
In backgammon, you have to have 2 pieces in the same
row
space. Yeah. So as long as those are there, they're safe. But then when a piece is captured, then it jumps over to the opponent's side, which might be blocked because if, like, let's say the first and the sixth row is full up and you roll either all ones or sixes or whatever, sorry, you got to get your pieces out before you can move anything else, so that holds them up. So it's a strategic play of when to do that or when to leave one of your pieces available, or even if you can't avoid it, which one should you leave unavailable for whatever reason. There's a lot of interesting decision space in there, but again, once the pieces are past each other, then there's no more interaction. You just sweep them in, right?
Okay.
Whereas Senate, for example, the reason I like Senate more is you're always going in the same path. So there's always jumping on each other. It never stops. It's always intense.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've never played backgammon. It was one of my dad's favorite games that he would always play with his adult friends growing up. So he just never got around to teaching me. His board ended up getting stolen. It was his camping game. Every time we went camping, he would play backgammon.
Yep.
And so it was stolen out of, I don't remember where it was. I think it was out of the back of his truck. Because he had one of those tool things, and he had it back there.
Yeah.
And we went fishing, and I guess someone just took it out of I think it was like a briefcase or something like that, because it's one of those little carry cases.
Yep.
And they were sorely surprised, but we just never got another copy of it, because... honestly, that was one of the last times we went camping, too. Just because... my nephews were at a certain age, and so they were playing summer sports and stuff like that. So I just never got around to playing it with my dad, unfortunately. And that's one of my biggest regrets, especially how big I'm into board gaming now. I never played his favorite game.
Well, one of these days I'll be happy to teach you if you ever want to.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to, but it's also kind of like that kind of bittersweet thing, because I always, growing up, I always remembered my dad playing backgammon with my mom's their couple friend. His name was Bill. They would always play backgammon, and I just remember that and dominoes. Those were the two. Now I was lucky enough. Dominoes was another one that my dad played a lot of, and I did play dominoes with him. I did play rummy with him, so I do have some memories. I also have a memory of him kicking my butt and wrist.
Oh, sure.
For the longest time. So
yep.
It's kind of that bittersweet, because I know he always was into backgammon. And at a point where he could have taught me, I was in sports. So I was always busy doing something else, and I didn't go camping with him all the time. So it was one of those things.
Well, let me know.
Yeah, will do. So the last game I am going to talk about is actually a very gorgeous game. It is another Pandasaurus production. We've been really talking about Pandasaurus a lot lately, because I've been liking a lot of their games lately. This is a game my wife bought for me while she was up at a game store in Seattle. And so she was touring me, and I'm like, oh, I want to pick up that game. It's right over my shoulder over here. Emerge by Pandasaurus. Yes. In all honesty, that theme on it is really neat. It is so abstracted. It could be anything, in all honesty. It's cool. You're building these different islands. You're just merging as islands, and you're trying to build them up to a certain level, because the scoring is real simple. The way you score this game is every meeple creature you have on there, whether it's a tree, a bird, a crab, a seal, times the level of island. And then you'll have like special powers from tokens that you can buy in the game, or based on your dice. And I love the dice selection in this one. So what's going to happen is you're rolling dice, and then you assign them to wherever you need to. And you can leave them there, and then on your next turn, you can use those dice to do certain things. But as you're putting more stuff on your island, it's going to cost you more dice. And then you have a choice to expanding your board, in a sense, where you get these special player boards on your thing, and now I cannot get a seal, but now I got 2 shots of growing my island. So there's 6 spaces, numbers 1 through 6, of course, because it's a 6-sided die. The first one is putting trees. The next one is putting crabs with the 2s. The 3s are... what are the 3s? The 3s are putting sea turtles. The 4s are putting seals. The 5s are building your island. And the 6 is attracting birds.
Okay.
And so, and each time, when you put a tree, 1 die, 1/1, will let you put your first tree. Then you need 2 1s to put your second tree on an island. And you need 3 1s to put your third tree on the island, but you can only ever have a max of 4 trees. But you cannot use the 1s to get your 4th tree. That's the importance of the birds. The birds are the ones that will plant your 4th tree on your island.
What, are they carrying a coconut?
They're carrying seeds with their poop.
Oh, okay.
So
that's fairly immersive.
It is, yeah. And then when it comes to the animals, you have a crab, and again, like I was saying, it was the 2s. It's, I think, 2 2s to get a crab. You're only ever allowed 1 crab, you're only ever allowed 1 turtle, and you're only ever allowed 1 seal on your islands.
Okay.
So at the most, you can have a total of 8 things on your islands, and so your island could be 8 times whatever level of the island is. So it's 8 times 3 if you have everything in your island fully built. However, you cannot get sea turtles unless you have a crab on your island, and you cannot get a sea lion unless you have a sea turtle on your island. So there's that little push and pull on that one.
Gotcha.
And it plays straight up in 8 rounds. Everybody does their turn until everybody passes, and the boat just keeps stuttering as it's going along until it hits the 8th round. I think you can only ever build about 4 islands, if I'm trying to remember the pieces. You always start with a small island at the beginning of the game, and you just build it up as you go. And so when you're rolling 5s, I think is if you roll 2 5s, you can put a small island on anywhere on the board. If there's a token there, you get the token. If it's face up, you already know what it is. If it's face down, you take the token, and then you're surprised what you're getting.
Makes sense.
The tokens get revealed as the boat's chugging along.
Gotcha.
And you can put your islands anywhere you want to do it. So I think it's 2 pieces to put a small island, 3 5s to put up a large island, and 4 5s to put up the large island. It's small, medium, large. And you have to grow it in succession. You have to start with a small, then you go to a medium, and then you go to a large. So there's a lot of rules on that one where it's like you have to have a crab before you get a turtle. You have to have a turtle before you can get a seal. Same thing with the islands. You have to have a small before you get a medium and large. Gotcha. And you only ever do 1 action on your turn. You either build your island or attract an animal or whatever that's. Once you do your turn, then you can use 2 dice to buy one of the face-up tokens that gives you special powers. So Gotcha. There's one of the special powers, like if I buy a crab, I can put a second crab on another island or something like that. There's also end-game scoring, so you have little tokens that you can put on there once you meet it. It's fascinating what it does. Like I said, it's very abstracted, and like those tokens or those pieces I said that you can get it now. All right, I got enough crabs. All my islands are built. I don't need any more crabs. So how about I'll cover a seal or a turtle, because that's my next thing I got to do, over the crab, and now I have 2 bites at trying to get to attract a turtle on my islands. Now my 2s and my 3s will work for it.
Yeah.
So there is that ability, and each one of those tiles have a special ability that you can flip it over once it's done. It's like a one-time power unless you choose to flip it back over. And then you can also, on your decision, you can take that tile off your board, remove it, and now you're back to your normal board. So it's really neat what it does, and it's beautifully done. It's very quick. But like I said, it's very abstracted, but honestly, I'm glad I have it. I don't think it's ever going to leave my collection because it's so simple, it's so smooth, and the scoring is fantastic. It's how many islands you have times how many meeples are on that island. And so, and I didn't even mention how the birds work. If you roll 2 dice, you could take 1 bird from the island. It's because there's always that main beach, and then they'll come over and they'll bring your 4th tree. That's how you do it. Now, Gotcha. If all 4 birds are off the beach, you need 3 dice of 6s to attract it from another person's island to bring it to your island. You steal that bird from them.
Gotcha. Okay.
But you only have, I think it's like, at the start of the game, I think you only have like 4 dice. And then as the boat's going along, you're unlocking more dice. At the most, I think you either have 6 or 8 dice as you're going through the game.
Yeah.
And so it's that decision process. It's like, I rolled these dice. You don't get any re-rolls unless you have a power that says you can.
Of course.
And then you're like, oh, what do I lock in? You put all your dice on your board, and then you decide, what power am I going to use? What dice am I going to use to give me those special powers and that kind of stuff. So it's really neat, though. I really did enjoy it. Pandasaurus is really doing these unique themes that work.
That's cool. Awesome. And the last game I want to talk about, is a game that I've actually been really good about posting my stuff on Instagram lately of whatever games I've been playing. However, we got a new game. I got it on Friday, Friday, and learned it for that Saturday during our Stories game night, and played it with a couple people just because I was like, okay, I've never heard of this game, so let's just give it a try. Mm-hmm. And I was pleasantly surprised. This is called Card Capers, or Capers Card, something like that. Caper Cards. Bell's Hell. And basically, it is cooperative blackjack with superpowers.
Okay, you already have me at blackjack. That's the only gambling game I play.
Cooperative blackjack with powers. So, you have a number of cards. Mm-hmm. They're numbered anywhere from 2 through 10, kind of. Or 1 through 10, kind of. And the way it works is on your turn, you collectively have to play 4 cards. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a threshold of what you can meet. There's a card called the risk card. It's worth 11 points. Or that's the minimum.
Yeah.
But then you have reward cards. You shuffle them up. They're worth anywhere from 5 to 8.
Okay.
You deal 4 of them. Those are your reward cards. You have to get through 4 rounds to win the game. One comes face down onto the risk card, and since it's worth anywhere from 5 to 8, that means that total is added to the 11. Meaning, you have to get at least 16 to 19 points minimum to stay in the round, but you cannot exceed 21.
Well, yeah.
Collectively.
Yeah.
So, you don't know how much you have to, or how close you have to be. It might be 18, and you have to get either 19, 20, or 21.
Yeah.
Or it might just be 16 total, and you really overshoot it. Because the cards you start with are the only cards you ever get during the game.
Ooh.
Now, each one of the cards has a special ability. The funnest one is the 6 and the 9. You can put them as either a 6 or a 9. It's whether the 6 is upside down or not, right?
Yeah.
So that's the 6 and 9. The 10 has to be played as a 10, but there is the number 2 card, which lets you flip a diamond, which all 6 and 9 is a diamond, and 10 and 1 is a diamond, because it's 0, 1. So it has to be played as a 10, but if you play that, you can drop it down to a 1. That's one way to do it. If you play an 8, instead of playing it to your field, you can replace the risk card, changing it from the 11 to the 8 now. But it doesn't apply towards your goal. But it just brings everyone's collective goal down. And there's a couple other little abilities, like one is the next player gets to peek at the risk card, but they cannot say anything at all about it, right? One is minus 1 point for every spade you have in the thing. So you play that out, and if you win the first round, you are successful, right? The next player becomes a boss card. Mm-hmm. But the reward card that you got, now people are on your tail about it. And so you put it tucked underneath the risk card, and it has a detriment that you now have to deal with.
Huh.
It might say minus or plus 2 to your total if a heart is played. Or minus 3 unless a spade is played, or something like that, right?
Okay.
Or, yeah, duplicate numbers cannot be played, or whatever, something like that. I don't think that's actually one of them. But there's 9 cards that you choose, and you only get 4 random, and you don't know what happens until you get them. It's pretty cool.
Sounds neat.
Yeah, it's a tiny little box. It's literally a tuck box about that big with a little flippy top. Super small, I want to say 36 cards total or something like that. Very simple. And, yeah, very effective game that worked surprisingly well. Designed by Manny Vega, which I forget off the top of my head. I know pretty well regarded. He made a lot of interesting games. We'll look at that in a bit. But, yeah, Manny Vega, Card Capers, awesome game. So now we're going to get into today's episode. This is our top choices for summertime feeling games. And what we mean by that is games that give us that nostalgia for being summer, or just feel like something is a summer activity or an engagement that we can relate to our summer experiences. Now again, as I said at the top of the episode, your mileage may vary because him and I are very different people. Mm-hmm. We're probably different people than you. But, if you've seen our top 100s, you might get a taste for some of the games that we have. And we'll explain our reasoning for each of these games as we do it. But again, if that theme doesn't work for you, hopefully one of the others will. Ready to get into it, Daniel?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's start with our number 8. Here we go. That'll be you.
Going with me. So, when I'm talking about summer feels, there's a lot of stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Games that make you feel like it's something that you do in the summer or something you've always did in the summer. We talked about it before we started the podcast. You were an educator.
Yep.
And so summer used to be our summer vacation time.
Yep.
And so for me personally, when it comes to summer vacation, usually meant a road trip of some sort.
Sure.
And for me, the pick I did here is a game based off an Australian IP that turned into a USA IP.
Yep. Okay.
And this is Boomerang USA.
Yep.
And so what this means is it's a little flip and write game where you're basically trying to get set collections, but you are taking, in essence, a road trip. You're going from one side of the country to the other side of the country, trying to match up symbols, trying to match up locales in a sense, playing football or going to a sporting event or a concert or hiking. Yep. And you're collecting those kind of signs. Like I put down here on my notes, it's a flip and write road trip game, and that's in essence what it's trying to convey. And for me, growing up, road trips were what we used to do. Yeah. We would go back east to visit my grandfather when he lived in the St. Louis area, or when he moved to Tennessee, we would drive over there to go see it. We would drive to California to go visit my dad's family that way. So I always correlate summer vacation to road trips. Yeah. I barely ever flew anywhere when I was a kid. I flew once before I was a teenager. After that, we drove everywhere. And because it was cheaper for our family of 5. Mm-hmm. I have 2 older brothers that would drive with us, and my 2 parents, of course, and myself. As a family of 5, it was just cheaper to drive where you needed to go because my parents had a minivan. We just pack everything in the back of the van and pack all the kids in the back of the van and go. And so, so for me, Boomerang USA gives that road trip feel, well, not having to leave the comfort of your living room.
That's right. So I went with a different theme, because even though, as we've said a number of times, we live in the desert. Mm-hmm. You know, summertime is incredibly hot for us.
Oh yeah.
But that's not true for most parts of the country. You know, it's warm, but like you're not. They'll have a couple weeks where it's bad, and then the rest of it is just their normal Midwestern or coastal weather, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted something because one of the best parts about living in the desert, if you've ever seen New Mexico sunsets, brilliant. Like, absolutely gorgeous sunsets, right? Mm-hmm. And, like, the utmost picturesque. Like, some of the weather that we have and some of just, like, the skies, the scenery, all this stuff, how well it's lit up. When you have one of those days where it's just nice and cool and you go out during the summertime, it's one of the most picturesque things you can do. And that's one of my favorite things to do, is take pictures of nature, go on hikes, do all that stuff. So I picked a game that was equally just as picturesque. It has best Sobel art, and this is Sunset Over Water.
Oh, yeah.
And I chose that specifically because the summer sunsets that we have in New Mexico is fantastic. Stunning. So I was like, I want a sunset game. I want a picturesque game. I want something that you can do, like you could just picture summer like that.
Yep.
Because during our winter time, it's all gray and murky, right? And during fall and spring, it's windy.
That's what I was going to say.
It's dusty.
Funny that you picked the sunset one.
Yeah.
For the summer, because I hate to say it, when we have our windy season, our sunsets are amazing. Once the sun dies down.
Once the wind dies down
and the sun's going down, because all that haze is in this. It's freaking fantastic.
It can be. But I really like the way that, like, because the clouds only really come out during the summertime for us because of all the forced evaporation, right? The monsoon season. And then when it bounces off of the desert, like the nice crimson red desert, and bounces up, it lights up like fire. It's so stunning to watch. And of course, also oftentimes here, you're going to get up super early to go on hikes if you're going to go out into the desert anyway. And then so you're going to see the sunrise too. And that's
our sunrise itself.
And our sunrise is later in the day. So like 7 a.m. is pretty not that late, right?
Yeah.
But you might still see the sunrise. It's really cool. So I picked Sunset Over Water.
All right, number 7's.
Number 7. Here we go. I'll be starting this one off. So this one, maybe it's just because it's this year. I spent some time in California. And I spent some time on the beach, hanging out, having fun. And I've been to this pier before, and even though I didn't go to it this season, I
figured this was going to be on your list.
Yeah, I went Santa Monica, just because, I mean, summertime in California, that reminds me of summer, and even though I've only been to California a handful of times, it's always been essentially during summer or spring, right? So the Santa Monica Pier holds a special place in my heart, and just because I've had a lot of good times there, and so I picked Santa Monica from AEG. In that game, it's a tableau building. You brought it up earlier, Big in Japan, or Let's Go to Japan.
Yeah.
Same designer.
I was going to say, I just played a game by this designer Saturday.
Yeah.
Or Sunday. Yesterday, actually.
Yesterday, yeah. And you're just building up the Santa Monica Pier, either the beachfront part, where you're getting things for different, like beach attractions or whatever, and then you have a row of shops on the top. So you have a top row, a bottom row, and they can always build off of each other. And my favorite part about it, the currency, sand dollars. Hilarious, right? But I appreciate a good pun, and it makes sense. It's super cool, and it just the aesthetic of it, just the waves crashing against the beach.
I just have an issue with it because the pastel colors really mess with me.
Yeah, they don't hurt me as bad, but again, I just look at that cover and I'm like, man, that
cover's
summertime.
Fantastic.
Because in any time other than summer, it would not be that clear sky, the water wouldn't be that blue.
Yeah.
It's just, I love it. Santa Monica. I need to play that again. It's been so long since I've played it, so I need to get it back to the table.
All right, my number 7 is my newest game, I believe, that's on my list here. And the big thing about this one is... remember how we were talking about how this was kind of difficult to come with picks, and so I had to come up with something. And my next pick as well is going to be like that. I had to come up with something that reminded me of summer aspect of things.
Yeah.
And so this one was a big one, and it is my newest one on here. And it's all about music festivals. I used to go to the Warp Tour. I used to go to summer concert series. I went to Ozfest one year up in Albuquerque. So... this is a musical game, and it's the best one that I've really played lately, and that is Hitster.
Wow.
And so because it reminds me of the summer concerts where you're basically just listening to music off of Spotify, you're doing a QR code, and then you can play either competitive or co-op, which is what I like about this one, is because I can play competitive against you. My wife would not do well against me in the competitive nature, so the co-op aspect of it is really good. But you're basically just listening to some music, and then you're trying to determine where it is in your specific timeline if you're playing competitive, or where it's at in the group timeline if you're playing co-op. And you're trying to also guess the artist and you're wanting to put in the year. You're trying to guess the artist and the song.
Yep.
And so... it is a fantastic game. It reminds me of the summer music festivals that we get to because it's a wide range of music.
Yep.
My mom goes to, in El Paso, the summer music stuff at, I think, Memorial Park or something like that, where they have little summer concerts with no-name bands, but Young Park.
Young Park.
Young Park. Well, no. This is in El Paso.
Oh, in El Paso.
It's their Memorial Park, I think is what it is. Gotcha. And so, yeah, she goes to those. The summer concert series, I think is what it's called. And they have, cover bands that do stuff, and it's free concerts.
Yep.
So,
which you can only realistically do in the summer.
In summer, yeah. Well, honestly, you can do it in the fall here, because it's so hot in the summer.
Fair enough.
But I like that it has a fun theme on it because you don't really have a lot of good musical games. And so Hitster was kind of my cheaty pick because I wanted to get something that gives you that summer concert feel that I would always go. Like I said, every year I went to the Warp Tour when that was a thing. One year I went up to Albuquerque to go to the Ozfest, and I think it was when Slipknot was the main event there. So it was... I wanted something that gave me that feel, because that was always summer to me.
Cool. All right. Number 6 is...
All right. So, and this is my other one that I was talking about. It's kind of a cheaty pick. You mentioned it. It's hot in the summer here. We didn't really want to go out too much when I played sports, all our games were at night because it was so hot out here. We didn't do day tournaments and stuff like that. We would do overnight tournaments. Mm-hmm. So... what did we do to keep calm and nice and cool? We stayed inside. And so for me, there's one thing I always did, especially when I got into middle school and high school, and sometimes in my early parts of college, is we had a video game session where we played a lot of battling games like Smash Bros, like
Sure.
X-Men versus Capcom, Street Fighter, that sort of stuff.
Huh.
So I had to come up with a game that kind of gave you that feel of that summer battling system, and I went with Smash Up. We were talking about it earlier when you were talking about Guillotine.
Okay.
Where you're, and it just reminds me of the summer gaming sessions where you're taking a group of things. So, like if you're playing Capcom versus X-Men, that was the big one that we played back in the day, where you're basically setting up a team of 3 members. So you have like Ryu and Wolverine and Magneto all in one team, and you're fighting up against some other team. And Smash Up gives you that feel. You have Ghost working with zombies, and so you have that mashup, and you're going to battle. In Smash Up, you're battling over bases, but you're still going to head with other players. And I wanted something that gave us that summer tournament feel that we used to do. We'd get a big group of friends, and we'd play games and start fighting each other over bases. And so another big one, especially during my college days, was Super Smash Brothers for the GameCube. We would get our GameCubes and just start beating each other up because everybody had a controller. You can play 4 players on one time. So I wanted something that gave us that feel because we had to stay inside because it was too hot to do anything. Some of those summers we were hitting 100. Like this year, we hit 107 degrees. How many times? I think we got close to, we hit 109 a few times too. So during those times, we didn't want to go outside. It was too hot. And so to spend our time, we would play video games, and I wanted something that gave us that feel.
Very cool. All right. And I do agree with Illuminous. I mean, Smash Up is basically Marvel Snap.
Have you even played this Marvel Snap?
Yeah.
Okay, so... Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't disagree, but I wanted something to give me the video game aspect.
No, you're totally right. I won't discredit that. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't give that to me because I didn't play video games when I was younger that much. But yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah. My number 6 is a game. So, living in the desert, turns out there's a lot of people who don't swim here, right? Or don't know how to swim, right?
Yeah.
But, despite that, I am a sucker for water parks. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really go to the pool all that often, but water parks, I'm down. I will ride as long as as long as there's not a drowning risk. If I just stand up and I'm good, like if 5 foot max, right? I'm good. I'll survive. But I'll ride it. Like I'm in. Like there's very few rides that I won't ride at a water park, and so. There's very few games that have a water park theme.
Yeah.
In fact, this is the only one I know of, and it is in my collection. It's from Foxmind. It's called Slide Blast, and so it is a.
There's a new one now.
Oh, okay, sure. I'm just not. I'm neglecting to remember it, but
it's Water Parks from. It's a reprint of Chinatown.
Oh yeah. There's that one, sure. But no, what this one is when you go to a water park, like we have one just south of us, twisty, ridiculous slides everywhere. Like it looks like a big spaghetti bowl because of all the different colored slides going everywhere.
Yeah.
In this game, it's a tile laying game, which you know I like tile laying games. Everyone starts in the middle. You have your little guy going on a slide. All you do is you add a tile to it to where you move your guy forward. If you're able to hit another set of slides that just so happen to maneuver you accordingly, that works, and whoever has the longest slide wins. Except you can also get little prizes, little snacks, or whatever they are, little bonus tokens, if you lay down a tile that moves your slider plus somebody else's slider at the same time. Mm-hmm. So if you do that and you move them along, you give them an extra point, but then you get a little bonus token that lets you take extra turns or something else like on top of that. It's a silly little game. It's a very simple game. I like tile laying. And it's one of the tile laying, like, you see a lot of, like, ones where you're like, oh, you're building this big old giant, like, crazy, route. And, like, hiking, that doesn't make sense, right? Another tile laying game that's like that is Bandito, where you're trying to escape and you're trying to close off the tunnels. Yeah. That also doesn't make sense, right? Yeah. Because it's like, why are you doing it? Slide Blast makes sense. It is thematic for being an abstract game. And because every hexagon tile you put down has weird twists and turns to it, and it's just a good, silly little idea, and it works really well. So Slide Blast, that's my number 6.
All right, moving on to our number 5.
Number 5, here we go.
All right, my number 5 is another one of my cheaty picks because it's 2 games, in all honesty. It was already mentioned by Illuminous over here. It is Parks or Trails, depending on which one you want to play or what you're in the mood for. Trails tends to be shorter. I prefer Parks myself. But when you think of summer, you think of hiking. You think of visiting national parks and stuff like that. So that's why I went with Parks. And, of course, I put Trails on here just because they're interchangeable in a sense. Yep. I love the exploration that you get in there. I love the art in Parks where they went and drew the pictures for each of the national parks that are in the game. They really
went above and beyond for that.
The nature adventure of it. You could also think of like going camping in the forest and going in the hiking trails. That's why Trails is on here, because we used to go to Ruidoso, which recently had a nasty fire a few months back. For us, when we're recording, it was last month, but when this airs, it'll be about 2 months. They had a really bad fire, hit the national news. That's where I used to go camping all the time. And so I used to do a lot of the hiking trails over there. We used to go fishing there and stuff like that. And so it's a set collection game as you're going through the trails, and for my personal favorite, Parks, you're going through the national parks. You're moving along the stuff. You're collecting resources to match up and fill contracts in a sense. But you're just trying to have an overall experience as you're going through the national parks. And I love these games. They can last a little longer than they really should, but they're fantastic games and really do give you that feel of going. And I visited some of these national parks and feeling like you've been to those national parks again. So this had to be on my list. I think it might be on your list somewhere down the line. I don't know, but good job on your pick as well, Luminous.
All right, so my number 5 is a game that I got to experience to the fullest, pure summer mode, because I played it for the first time in summer. It's summer themed, and I played it in a place that is synonymous with summer. I played Seaside in California on the beach.
I figured this was going to be on your list.
I had to, right? You know, because like the best time to go swimming in the ocean is the summer, because that's when it's nice and cool.
Unless you live by the equator.
Sure, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, if you live by the equator, sure, that's different. But it's nice and cold, like especially in California. It's beautiful out. That's the best recreation to go relax and have fun. Again, it's synonymous with like people walking around in bathing suits or sunbathing or, just going to the pier, having seafood or whatever. Yeah. And just experiencing a fun time on the beach. And if you're going to play a game that has a summer theme, what better than Seaside, because it brings that out. Yeah. And one of the cool things about it is now that I've played it on the beach, it has a little bit of sand in the bag, right? And it's a canvas bag, it's wooden tokens. And that's fine. It's weather resistant on purpose. But now
they made it to play on the beach.
Yeah. They intended to play at Seaside, and I literally did. But now every time I'm going to play it, I'm going to feel a little bit of that grit, and I'm going to be like, you know what? That reminds me. That's going to bring me right back to that core memory of just really enjoying the beach.
And it's not just that kind of core memory, too. It's a core memory that you made with your son.
Yes.
So that even makes it just higher.
Yeah, the game is okay, but
no, the game's good. I enjoyed it.
The game's fun. Yeah. It's just such a cool idea now that has now become something that is going to be so synonymous with it. Because now there's not going to be an opportunity for me to play that and not think of that memory.
Yeah, exactly. So especially when you're going to feel that sand and stuff like that. So it's a good pick.
Yeah, cool.
I knew this was going to be on your list. I thought it would have been further, like 8 or 9 or like 7.
Yeah, I mean...
But because of that memory, I understand where it's at.
I put this in order... So to clarify this, I put this in order of what gives me the most summery feels. Not the best game out of it.
Yeah, no, I did it that way too, but I went more like my top 3 are the ones that really give you that summer feel.
Gotcha.
Like whether it's experiences in the summer or stuff like that. Whereas my other ones are like stuff that I did during the summer.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Cool.
All right, number
4. Here we go. We're in the top half. And I'll be starting this off. So this one, I I'm curious to see if you agree with me on this one, because this is synonymous with summer. And I know you're a man who likes to do grilling, likes to smoke meat, all that stuff. And I do think summertime, when you're cooking outside, that is synonymous with summer. But not just grilling. I also think that there's other kinds of food that is synonymous with summer, and like cones of ice cream and stuff like that, right? So I picked a game that actually has all of these foods prominent in it. This is Yummy World Party at Picnic Palace. God. This is the Phil Walker Harding game. And as I saw it on my shelf, I was like, I wonder. And I pulled it down, and then I immediately see the hot dog, the hamburger, the ice cream cone, the bacon. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this has to be on there. Because you don't go to a winter picnic. You know, no, but I mean, like, that's true. Like,
dude, I smoke brisket for Christmas, all right?
Well, you're ridiculous.
And I smoke a turkey for Thanksgiving.
Sure. No, I don't blame you, but it's just, like, there's nothing almost more reminiscent for summer, like when you get out of your car and you're like, oh, one of my neighbors is grilling, you know? Like, and you smell the...
Especially on a weekend, too.
Yeah, oh, man. It's just so synonymous. Those cookouts, the picnic... theme. I mean, people in New Mexico don't do picnics because nature fights back here, but that's you sit down and
venomous snakes, scorpions,
prickly plants of all sorts of it. Like the insects are really bad. Anyway,
our lizards are venomous out here.
Yeah, so picnics aren't really a thing out here, but cookouts definitely are. And so I was like, that has to go on my as number 4.
That is an interesting pick, but
am I wrong though?
I'm not gonna argue it.
Am I wrong? You have a copy, right?
Yeah, I have a copy of it.
Yes. Look at that.
Illuminus, no, I haven't. I'll talk to you about that after the episode. But my number 4, it is, I think, in one of those.
Oh, okay.
My number 4 is synonymous with a lot of stuff that you did as a kid. Again, when we were growing up, we had summer vacation. When it was nice outside, I wasn't allowed to be inside when I was a kid. And so I'm very synonymous with this. Is the game I picked is Fort. It's all about going outside and playing games with your friends, building forts, teaming up against you, capture the flag, Red Rover.
This is a good pick. Yeah.
And so it gives you all of that. You're playing different games with your friends. You're building forts and you're warring against one another. A la Capture the Flag, Red Rover, when you get older, when you're playing paintball and stuff like that. So you have that sort of stuff in Fort. I like the fact that it's an interesting deck builder, that you play these cards out and then someone can have basically Red Rover one of your friends over to their deck.
Pretty funny.
And so I'm like, it really fits that summer feel. It's because when it was nice outside, go outside and play. So we would do that in the morning, or in personal... you don't really see it in Fort, but you also had water fights out here. So... Sure. You kind of get that feel aspect of Fort, does it as well. And when I was visiting my family in Tennessee or in Missouri and stuff like that, in those areas, you would have a lot of fun times there too. So I would get and hang out with the neighborhood kids, and we would build forts in the forest and stuff like that. So yeah, Fort is my number 4 pick.
All right, on to our number 3. Here we go.
All right, starting with me, my number 3 pick is something that you've mentioned before with your number, I think it was your 5, when you talk about water parks.
My number 6. Yeah. Hi, ABQ Plays, by the way.
So for me, personally, I've never been a water park fan. I'm okay with it. I'd rather just go swim in a swimming pool or something like that. But me personally, what I always did, and it's because... our amusement park out here only opened during the summer.
Yes.
Western Playland is where I grew up and went to amusement parks. And so I wanted to get a game that was about amusement park. Now, it's slightly abstracted when it comes to amusement parks, but it still gives you that feel because you theme your amusement park, you advertise for your theme amusement park. And for me, my number 3... for the amusement park pick is Tenpenny Park. You're visiting amusement parks. You're trying to get people to come to your amusement park. Now, I have played Unfair, It is fine. I liked it. I just, out of the two, I prefer Tenpenny Park.
And our state fair, Southern New Mexico State Fair, is not during the summer.
And no, yeah, our fair is
so maybe that's a factor for us.
And I've only been to the Southern New Mexico State Fair once in my lifetime. And it was relatively recently. Like me and my wife went on a date there when we were dating. I've never really... I lived in Chaparral. It was 45 minutes to get here.
That's true. So. It's not close.
But yeah, so for Tenpenny Park, you have the amusement parks. And a big thing about it, too, is growing up, we'd go to Western Playland, which is our local one. Or we'd go to, I forget what it's called up in Albuquerque, but there's an amusement park up there. We would go to that one. Or when we go, like our summer vacation, we'd take a road trip to Dallas and go to Six Flags. Or we'd take a visit family in California and go to Disney when I was 5 years old. So I always remember, Cliffs, thank you, ABQ Place, going to amusement parks during the summer. I've never gone to an amusement park in the winter not even the winter or fall, until recently when I went to Disney World with my wife in October a couple years back. So I really do feel going to amusement park is a summer thing. And growing up, when I was a teenager, my family bought me a summer pass, and they would drop me and my cousin off at Western Playland, and we'd spend most of the day there for a weekend or something like that. Yeah. And so that was what our day was, is we had some money, we'd go ride some rides and have some fun, and they would come pick us up, and we'd go do whatever we needed to do. But amusement parks, Tenpenny Park, that's my pick.
Cool. I don't disagree with that. This is our number 3?
Yes, that was my number 3. So
Number 3. So, I'm really big into holidays. Pretty big, into holidays. And there is one holiday that, hands down, here in the U.S., that is synonymous with summertime. 4th of July, right? That's
my least favorite holiday.
Yeah, your least favorite. One of my favorites. And not only that, because of course I just like fireworks a lot. I get why you don't. Your dogs freak out.
No, it's not just my dogs. My buddy was in a war zone. Your buddy,
right, yeah. I get that. But I've always really enjoyed that, and fireworks displays are something that I'm really passionate about. Like, I always buy my own fireworks. Like, I always do my own. I've always really liked that.
I like my fingers.
Yeah, I have most of them.
Also, I worked in a hospital during 4th of July, so...
Well, okay, so you're listing off all your reasons. That's fair. I haven't had that problem, thank goodness. But no, I really enjoy fireworks display, and so much to the point where... One of my favorite things to do, you do this for Halloween, you play a bunch of spooky games, right? Mm-hmm. I got to play Hanabi every year for 4th of July. And I didn't this year, but like most years, I force at least one gameplay of it. I'm like, let's play Hanabi, guys. Let's play the fireworks game. And it just works, and it's something that I've been doing it for so many years now. Like, out of the past 10 years, I think I played Hanabi on or near 4th of July, probably 8 of those. Okay. Right? And so... I had to do this. This is a summertime game for me through and through. Hanabi,
the fireworks game. For me, Hanabi, I always think of it as a New Year's game. I only always played it on New Year's. The first time you introduced it to me was a New Year's party, so...
I do that too, just because, America blows stuff up on holidays.
Yeah, exactly.
If they sold fireworks during Christmas, we would blow stuff up. Like, that's just how it is.
In a sense, yeah. I mean, think about it. We fry turkey for Thanksgiving, so
that's how
sometimes they blow up.
That's how the USA works, right? All right, but that's my number 3, Hanabi. There was that was one of the first ones I was like, yeah, that's a summer game there for me. Cool. Our number 2.
That's you.
I'll be starting us off. You brought this up earlier, without a doubt, and I agree with you 100%. I go on a lot of road trips. We'd probably set the state on fire more often too if we do that. Yeah. Yeah. You go on road trips during summer. I agree. And even though when I was growing up, I didn't go on as many road trips. It was more just moving. It was a one-way road trip. We'd pack everything into a truck. We'd move. And there's a road trip to a different state. We'd live there for a little bit. Yeah. And that happened a lot during summers. Yeah. So, but I do. Now, I try to give my kids that experience. We go on trips, guaranteed every summer we're going on some kind of trip. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter.
You took a big one last year, so...
Last year we drove over 4,000 miles on a road trip. And this trip this game was in my mind the whole time. It's 10 Days in the USA.
I knew this was going to be on your list.
Yeah, that for the same reason why.
And that's why I went Boomerang USA.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? I mean, because that game, you're planning out an itinerary.
Yep.
You're spending 10 days. We literally do that, you know?
Yeah.
We plan, I'm going to drive from this state to this state in this day. Then from this state to this state in this day, you know?
Yeah.
Fly from here to there. Spend a couple days in this place, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. 10 Days in the USA and the new, the op version of it. Really cool production. Looks really neat. I like it a lot. And I like the original version. It's from Alan R. Moon and Aaron Weisselblum. Yeah. And again, it's one of my dad's favorite games, and I used to spend a lot of time with him during summers. So
yeah,
this had to be my number 2.
All right, my number 2 is a game that you actually had to experience in real life, and it was one of the first 2 games that I thought of, because they have a winter version of it, but this always happens in the summer, and this is the version I prefer. You went to the X Games this year.
Yeah.
And so for me, I always think summer of skating. Yes. My cousins would go skateboarding. There's a skate park out where
The only reason I didn't put this on my list is because I don't own it. That's the only reason. And I thought of this. This is a great pick. Yes.
It is Skate Summer.
Yeah.
It gives you
literally has summer in the name.
It has summer in the name, but I really thought about it because I looked forward to every year watching the X Games on ESPN and seeing Tony Hawk. I remember where I was when Tony Hawk did the 900. Me and my cousin were watching it and jumped out of our seat when he landed the 900.
Yeah.
He kept failing, but everybody kept cheering him on to keep doing it. And then when he landed it, I was like, oh my God, because we've never seen someone land a 900 before. It was a phenomenal time experience. And Skate Summer actually gives you that feel of... Now, I was never a skater. My big butt kept his feet on the ground. I'm not putting wheels under me, all right? So, no. So, but I've always enjoyed the X Games. I've always loved those kind of extreme sports. The downhill skiing or skating.
Sure.
Those were always good. The street competition.
Yep.
All that stuff, you get that feel in Skate Summer. It gives you that X Game feel. It makes you feel like you're doing cool tricks as you're moving across the board, going through the streets and stuff like that. And it's got summer in the name. How can it not be on a list?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not going to be skate spring.
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense. Skate fall? That's a bad omen. Skate winter? You're crazy.
I think we have the same number 1.
I'm sure of it. There's not even a reason to flip the coin. All right, let's say it together. Summer camp. Yeah, of course. Of course. This was the first one. We're like, summertime games. Summer camp. Of course.
It says it in the name, but in all honesty, I've mentioned it all the way through the list.
Yep.
One of my favorite core memories, as you mentioned earlier, was going camping. Yep. I talked about it when you talked about playing backgammon with your daughter for the first time. That's something my dad always did when we go camping. Now, summer camp is more about the camp experience.
Yeah,
I
like
never
an actual summer camp.
I never personally went to.
Yep.
But you're making s'mores. Always did that camping. Mm-hmm. You're doing like
friendship bracelets.
Or friendship bracelets. Or doing some
sports activities.
Yeah, sports activities.
Tie-dyeing shirts, you know.
Yeah. So it's got a lot of experiences that you would do on camping, even if you didn't go to summer camp.
Yep.
I know some people who go out for archery. They shoot at trees and stuff like that. I know people... I went for fishing, so... There's stuff like... I know my brother-in-law, he's a big camper. He goes out in kayaks all the time, and that's one of the things you can do in this game. And what I really like about it, too, is the variability. So you have, like, the making of food out by the campfire, but you also have the activities. You also have the crafting and stuff like that. So, yeah, it is a fantastic game, so take it away.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This was guaranteed to be number 1 as soon as you're like... and I asked you, I was like, hey, I don't remember what the theme is. What is it? Summertime camps. Got it. So let's start with summer camp, and then let's see what else I can add to it. Then 10 Days in Hanabi came into the list. I was like, cool. Now I got to go look at
the rest of your game list. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. So I'm going to throw out my honorable mentions. I want to see.
I have a few that are in my head.
I put matches because it's so hot here. No, I'm just kidding. I kid. No, 3 Ring Circus.
That was actually on my short list.
Because I consider it as like, the circus time around here is summertime. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Bocce Ball, which is a game that I have where, but you're actually like playing it in
bocce,
a yard.
yeah.
Right, yeah. Trekking the national parks was my nature one. Although I consider hiking a year-round thing. And actually, I go hiking a lot during winters and spring.
Well, yeah, because where we live.
Because of where we live. Yeah.
I did the parks and trails because that's when we would always experience the national parks and stuff like that.
And then I did Seasons.
I never played Seasons, so that wasn't on my list.
And then Tavarua, which is the surfboarding one.
Okay.
And I don't know how to surf. So
Long Beach was on my short list because we just recently played that one about building surfboards, but basically on the beach. Beachside was on my short list that you mentioned.
Seaside, yeah.
Silver and Gold was on my thing because it's just like beaches and stuff like that.
Sure, why not?
That's why it was just on my short list. I didn't actually put it out there. Rolling America was another one that was on my short list, but I decided I'm going to go with Boomerang instead. I just like that game slightly more.
Yeah.
I haven't played 10 Days in the USA. That's why in a long time, so it wasn't on my list. There was a few others that I thought of, but
I thought you were going to put Cape May. Honestly,
I thought about it.
I kind of think the coastal theme. I know Cape May is more like it's more like
city building in a sense.
Yeah.
So that's why it wasn't on my short list. I'm like, no, that's a silly. I looked at it and I'm like, no. I was thinking something like Aquatica, just going into the ocean and stuff like that. Sure. That's a summer thing.
Yeah, I considered it briefly when I saw it too.
Yeah, and so it was just some stuff on there. But the games that I came up with, I was very happy with.
Yeah.
I don't own Fort, but I remember playing it. I'm like, I remember doing stuff like that as a kid.
Yep.
And so I'm like, yeah, that had to go on my list.
Sure.
I have 2 deck building games actually on this list.
Wow.
The 2 games I thought of right away was Skate Summer and Summer Camp.
Yep.
So.
And then also, Illuminous brought up Challengers 2 Pool Party, which... That's a great one.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't bring it up because I didn't know if it was on your list or not.
No, I have Challengers. I don't have the second one, which is all about... Because it used to be called... I think it's called like Challengers Beach Cup.
Beach Cup. Yeah, Beach Cup.
Yeah.
That's
so,
right.
I don't have that one. I haven't played that version of it. I have only the original one.
I'm sure it doesn't change it up too much.
Yeah, there was another one that I'm trying to remember that was on my short list, and I can't... Oh...
I considered zoo games, like Zoo Loretto, because I was like, okay, that's a great time.
The one that was on my short list, because it was recently played, I didn't put it on my list, is Marvel Dagger. And the reason I went with that is because a lot of times, I'm wearing a shirt based on it too, summer movies. That was a big experience for me, going to the movies and seeing those big blockbusters. And the big one of it was like the Marvel movies, and Marvel Champions was another one I thought of. But I'm like, I talk a lot about Marvel game or stuff all the time. I wanted to come up with something that gives me a little bit more of that blockbuster summer movie feel.
Sure.
And I just couldn't think of anything outside of like Cthulhu. The Cthulhu Death May Die or Final Girl and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's why they didn't get on my list.
Makes sense. Well, so let us know in the comments below or in our chat. Let us know what you think, which games you would put in your summertime games, which ones are synonymous with summer for you. And let us know whether you agree or disagree with what we brought up.
And give us your game recommendations. Luminous said Parks and Trails, Unfair. So...
Yep, Challenger 2, all those.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a bunch of good choices. So, we want to thank you for tuning in. If you ever want to email us directly, you certainly can. We have an email called everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com, and you can contact us, whether it's to let us know about ideas for future episodes, enter in future possible contests, wink wink, there may be something soon, or just tell us your thoughts or just say hi. Remember, everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. Also, we have an Instagram.com/everydayboardgames. Go check it out. I just made my first video for it. I challenge you to make a follow-up video for it. Tag us. That would be awesome. I did the ABCs of board games where I put down the best board game for each city, and I hope you see it. So, Everyday Board Games, or Instagram.com/everydayboardgames.
As well as all video re-uploads are found on YouTube under youtube.com/@everydayboardgames. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject. On that note, on YouTube, we also do reviews, so if you want to check our thoughts on games, that's the best place to go see it.
That's right. And if you want to join us, like our live studio audience, we have an audience. We stream it live on twitch.tv/everydayboardgames. And join us like our friends Illuminous, ABQ Plays, and NPC Aaron. Thanks for just jumping in right here at the end there. And anybody else who joined us with today's chat. We love conversing with you guys during the episodes. That's one of our favorite things. So remember, twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Apple.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.